Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
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 Oh, this is the start of both the recordings because I accidentally stopped the pre-show recording, so I'll have to publish that separately, which is a bit annoying. There we go. Such is life.
Hello.
Hello. Who was that? Good to have you. Welcome. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? This is not how we rehearsed this in the pre-show.
I thought we were supposed to do silence and let the silence go on for like 3 or 4 seconds.
I always hope somebody may come in and try and tackle that.
No, nobody's coming in.
We had a math professor try it one time, and he ended up saying that a curved line meeting a straight line is an angle.
That was Matthew Learns,
Embarrassing.
wasn't it? That was just stupid. I mean, I'll have to answer it myself then. But that kind of is a bit rubbish. I'd prefer to get an answer because at least then I can move on. Just maybe take your time over giving the answer. Can you mute, Adam? You hot micing.
Yeah.
Did you want to add something? Unless you wanted to add something.
No, I started to be like, yeah, no, I don't ever have any. I never get any actual evidence for curved baseline, but then it kept going, and I was like, oh, and I didn't want to go beep, so I'm gonna go beep now.
You don't hear the beep at our end, so I wouldn't worry. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
And from what plane of reference will you describe this axis?
A flat plane of reference?
Oh dear.
Yes, axial rotation is ultimately a flat Earth proof as well. To describe the axis in the first instance, you need a flat plane of reference. Okay, we're going to be covering this video today. So, Times Radio is the videographer. Please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So there's going to be a link to this video winging its way by in the live stream chat as we speak. The purpose of this is so that should you actually go and do this, and the person, I don't think it'd be Dom Jolly is being interviewed on this channel, but if the videographer were to respond, they would hopefully put a link to our video and help us along in the algorithmic love that we so sorely desire but do not receive from YouTube. So please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 send me just a nice polite comment that lets them know that A, we've covered their video, and B, they might want to respond. Hello, Adam. Hopefully,
Afternoon, everyone.
afternoon.
Hope you're all well.
Good. Yes, we are. We're all well, or at least I hope so. So, you got the gist of what we're doing? We're covering Dom Jolly, Adam. I'm sure you're familiar with Dom Jolly, right?
I was about to say, I'd literally just joined as you. I'm going to say, is that Dom Jolly? Hello,
yes,
I'm on a radio show. That guy.
I don't think he's going to be in character, or at least he wasn't from what I saw. But should we get into this?
Yeah.
I'll do a quick call to action. Hopefully, that's given enough people There's like 35 odd people in the live stream. We've only just started. So, yeah, hopefully, because we've done very little on housekeeping today, we're starting this earlier than I would typically, and maybe only a handful of you will actually go and do that. But if you have, thank you very much for letting him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Flat Earth theory did start off as a spoof. It was started by two quite stoned philosophy professors in America, who I think.
So there's Righteous's justification for claiming it's a conspiracy theory, because people like Dom Jolly are suggesting that the notion of Earth being flat, which is merely a measurement of what is actually a conspiracy started by a couple of chaps. Right, Dom?
Kind of thought, what's the most ridiculous thing we can promote? And then we can kind of argue against it in a philosophical nature. But like all these things, 20% of people took it seriously and ran with it.
Maybe he's semi-correct. Maybe he's talking about the controlled opposition narrative that is the Flat Earth Society, and suggesting that creating an idea about what Flat Earth is according to them and debating about it as though it's a legitimate philosophy to have, when in reality it's not discussing what is the nature of the world, that being flat. It's flat Earth, in inverted commas, being something that they've created to be ridiculed, mocked, and debated about in a semi-legitimate manner, but actually a spoof, according to John Jolly. Maybe he's talking about Flat Earth Society. We'll find out. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is if you're going to put it in a philosophical debate, you're in a category error. The measurements of what is not philosophy.
But perhaps that's not what he's talking about either. Like I say, he's
So what?
Go on, Neil.
So, what if two stoners did put it together and say, what's the most ridiculous thing we could come up with? And they came up with that. Because that's what they taught us in school, that it was ridiculous. What's the point? Earth is flat anyway.
Yeah, but it does tie into
I
what...
find it in.
Go on, Adam.
I find it interesting that he started with a claim that, to me, demonstrates he's not bothered to research. He's just done a quick Google search, come across the first anti-conspiracy theory, probably from Quora or somewhere, that he's come across, and he's now going to regurgitate it. And fundamentally, it demonstrates no research. If you're going to make the claim of flat Earth, it's a couple of stoners in the 60s, whenever, coming up with a concoction. It shows you haven't looked into it, and you've just taken the first plausible answer, or comedic answer by the sounds of it. But it certainly demonstrates to me you've not researched it yourself. At best, you're parroting something somebody's told you.
But so flat Earth theory, the normal one, standard classic flat Earth theory, if you like, it's a bit like the Truman Show. The Earth is a flat sort of coin shape. It's got either an ice wall or an ice waterfall. They can't quite work out which.
You mean you don't know which controlled opposition narrative to go with when you're describing it at the surface level that you're regurgitating? Spot on, Adam.
Australia doesn't exist. All Australians you've met are hollow.
What? Australians don't exist. Sorry, you're suggesting this now, are you, Dom? Because I certainly don't suggest that, and I don't know any sources of information in this territory I would consider myself an expert in that suggest Australia doesn't exist. Prior to us going live, we were discussing John Le Bon in Australia, or he used to be. He's an Australian. He's actually in Bulgaria.
Has anyone told Mitchell?
What?
Yeah, but you see the damage that flat earthers cause? This is damage control, because some stupid flat earthers decided Australia wasn't real and didn't exist.
This was
Has anyone?
2017 nonsense that came out.
Yes.
And I think it might have been John Le Bon that might have started this conversation, Nathan. Yeah? It was things like Australia didn't exist, North Korea, does that exist? And it wasn't necessarily anything to do with flat Earth. It was to do with, how do you know for certainty? Australia was a good example. If you've never been, how do you know it's there? How do you know that that is the case? And then it was exemplified, I think, better with, like, say, with North Korea. How do you know any of those things are real? All you've got is your state telling you that this other state's real. No one can see it, and you've got to trust your state that you know lies, telling you that this state is bad and it looks like this. They were the points there. There weren't really ever a claim of a flat earther that Australia didn't exist.
Right, now let's spin that into how things should be in 2024. In terms of where on the world has been discovered and how those places were discovered, it was done with charting and mapping the world flat. So without speculation about areas that may or may not exist, be it on Antarctica or Australia or North Korea, we can detail how the new worlds were discovered, mapped, charted, and found using flat methodology, angle measurements to the stars, which are still used to this day. The reason your Mercator projection for GPS is utilized is because it's a flat projection that can still function with elevation angle measurements. That's how it all works. That's how our world's been mapped. And if I'm going to detail to a normie who doesn't appreciate that, I'm not going to go to Antarctica or Australia. I'm going to go to one of the new worlds that have been colonized in our recent history, that are well documented.
Holograms. That's the sort of normal theory. I was interested in a splinter group.
Yes, I
of it.
gather there's sort of the People's
The
Party of
People's Judaism. It's
Judaism.
exactly that. So my splinter group was the Square Flat Earth Society. They believe the Earth is flat but square. And of course, if the Earth is square and flat, it has four corners. And that's where the expression four corners of the Earth supposedly comes from. And the four
What? Not a biblical reference. The Square Flat Earthers? Sorry, which group is that? I've been here 10 years, Dom. Do you want to point me in the direction of this group? Surface puke regurgitator.
four corners of the Square Flat Earth, according to the Square Flat Earth people, are
So there's a map depicting this. This isn't a group. There's a map. What's
yeah,
the map
it's
called?
the
Adam?
Orlando Ferguson. map.
Orlando Ferguson. There you go.
randomly the island of Hydra in Greece, Papua New Guinea, the Bermuda Triangle, and an island called Fogo off Newfoundland. And so that's where I went. I found a square flat earther in Newfoundland.
And you rode to the edge of the world with him.
Well, we did a road trip all the way across Newfoundland, and then
Oh, he's padding out his bullshit narrative for a show he's made. So it's not a group, it's some dude you found to go along with a story that you wanted to tell as you took a journey whilst making a show. But that's been repackaged into a group of people based on the Orlando Ferguson map and a quote from the Bible. Wow, just notice how quickly we unpack your bullshit there, Dom. Yeah, this guy's nodding along like, yeah, this group of Orlando Ferguson flat earthers, aka a man you went on a journey with.
onto the island of Fogo, and then you get to the edge where it's a thing called Brimstone Head. You climb this cliff, you're supposed to look over. And, not much spoilers here. We looked over and we couldn't see a drop. He was very disappointed. And then he hired a boat, a very reluctant Newfoundland fishing captain.
Drop.
We got on the boat with him, and
Say again?
He just said drop. Drop from what there, Don? From horizontal?
Oh, there wasn't a drop. Oh, yes. In respect to drop with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. You'll need a flat earth to describe that drop that you didn't see.
there was a storm coming. He didn't want to go out. Long story short, we went out. He said we have to go back in, and the guy just lost his marbles. He claimed that that both me and the boat captain were being paid by George Soros, and it was fantastic.
But Catherine texted in, and I had not heard about this conspiracy theory till I got your book, and then Catherine texted in that Finland doesn't exist. Why is there a conspiracy theory?
Okay.
What's Finland done?
So there's this great chart.
What the hell is he babbling about? How does any of this have to do with flat earth? Is this the Iron Republic story now that he's going to branch into?
It's
I
like a
don't know.
triangle.
He's been on about what he was. I think he's alluded to the Flat Earth Museum, which is in Newfoundland. That might be what he was rambling on about there, but that's the only link I can see. And then I don't know. No, Finland's not denied in any of those stories.
Who's denying anything? We found new worlds when we charted the world with flat systems and flat measurements. That's what I'm going to lean on, Dom. What about all this nonsense about areas of land that we know are on maps that we discovered when we charted it all flat? Shout out to Elvis Kavovic. Super chat, supermodel, supercomputer. Shout out to Bro Mighty Mush and Sasha. No edge on flat earth. Monkey Spaceball has edge. Yeah, they've got an edge. Get given it in the false controlled opposition narrative of us having to justify where the edge of the flat Earth is, when in reality you've got a physical geometric sphere edge derived from a flat plane measurement differential from eye level to surface level to infer a point below surface level blocks your view with an edge. Thanks for the super chat.
It's written by someone who drew it online, and it kind of has the gradations of conspiracy. So it starts with things that might be true, and then possibly, and then it just ends up in sort of anti-Semitic, crazy nonsense at the top. And I looked down this list, and I thought I'd do some of them. And the one that really stood out was Finland.
Sorry, what? What was that baseless assertion about anti-Semitism dropped into a claim about flat earthers and a group based on one man and a journey you took?
Doesn't exist.
I'm really lost. His mind's all over the place, because how would the denial of Finland be considered anti-Semitic? That great Jewish nation of Finland. No, I don't know what he's saying, because his mind, his head's flipping all over the place as he tries to ridicule.
One of the few times that QE soundboard would be useful. Are you high right now?
I can make out that the theory is that in 1917, Russia and Japan conspired to invent a country called Finland because there's actually just sea there.
Objection. Well, wild speculation is not a theory. He's discussing a wild speculation. This is not a theory.
Colloquial theory.
That they could have the sole fishing rights, and the fish that was fished from there, because people wouldn't go there because they thought it's Finland, was transported on the Trans-Siberian Express to Tokyo under the guise of Nokia products. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Nokia is like a very old company. It's not just mobile phones. The ones I used. So when you land...
What was the guy in the background doing? What's this guy doing?
An express to Tokyo under the guise of Nokia products. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Nokia is like a very old company. It's not just...
Very weird.
Mobile phones, the ones I used. So when you land in Finland, you're not landing in Finland, according to it. You're either landing in Sweden and Russia,
according to it. Fantastic hyperspecificity.
Easy for you to say.
It is. Yeah, fantastic hyperspecificity there, Dom Jolly.
All the people there are actors. So I thought, because it's it's almost impossible to argue with conspiracists. They're always like, you're either in on it or it's impossible.
What's it? It is the idea that we don't have Finland, that you've landed somewhere else. This nonsense, like literally, this is the first time I've heard. Anybody else heard this before? I've been here 10 years.
And I'm not sure what the denial of Finland would have anything to do with the nature of the plane. I don't know what he's proving, other than he's not very coherent.
Well, I'll help him out. The nature of the ground you stand on is not an argument. It either is or it is not. There's no argument to be had here anymore, Don.
What if that land you're standing on is in Finland that doesn't exist?
This is stupid.
To win an argument with them. And so I thought, how do I disprove that? So I thought, I took my poor wife to Finland.
Disprove that Finland doesn't exist? Well, you've managed to cope with that by taking your wife there, right? And does this little exercise, I suppose. But no, you've got a whole show on it, I suppose. That's probably why you're still talking about it.
Finland for 3 days to try and prove it existed. And it's harder than you think if you've got...
Really? It seems like you are insane, Dom Jolly. Yeah, I decided that it was worthwhile and an endeavour to take my wife to a place that I say people claim doesn't exist, and to demonstrate that it does exist, I took her there for 3 days, and it was actually harder to prove that it did exist when we were there than we thought. Is this really the ramblings of a sane man?
Your conspiracy's head on. You land, it says welcome to Helsinki.
So with your conspiracy head on. So this has nothing to do with me or flat earthers in general, has it, Dom? It's you and your conspiracy head that you put on you and your wife when you landed in Finland, right? So it's just the ramblings of your insane nuttery, because it's nothing to do with me.
The guy stamps your passport. I go, where am I? He goes, Finland. I go, but am I? And then he goes, well, yes, you are.
Yeah, because you would do that. You are this nutter. But somehow you're trying to paint this like there's some flat earth story behind this, and you're exercising the flat earth mentality when you do this. No, Dom. You're just a nutter landing in Finland and asking the guy stamping your passport with the word Finland on it if you're in Finland, because you're a nutter.
I go, can you prove it? He goes, look at the map on your phone. I go, yeah, but who's behind the map? It's Bill Gates. You know, and
This is just you asking these questions, Dom. Very stupid that they are to be asking.
once you do that,
You can't get out of it, can
No,
you?
you can't get out of it.
And in fact, one of my favourite texters has texted in to say, I don't believe Tom has been to any of the places he's written about. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, well, there
He's
you go.
never been further than Croydon. It's
There's
all
no
fiction.
there's no such
and a
book.
Photoshop.
Yeah.
But you're going on tour from the 21st of February, starting in Stafford,
Yeah, I know.
allegedly.
Yeah.
And then ending on the 28th of March in Basingstoke. But you're taking what you call I thought it was a conspiracist, but it's a conspiracy theorist.
Well, no, it's a
But you-
conspiracist is the right
So
term.
you say a respected conspiracy. Is there
Well,
such a-
he's
What? So this is really what the tour's about. He's got some stooge. That's basically what this is about. And he's stereotyping anything that he uses the stooge for with a group that he's going to mock, using the stooge to mock them. That's your shtick, is it, Dom?
Dr. Julian Northgate.
Dr. Julian Northgate.
Tell us why you're taking him
So
on tour with you.
he's respected in his field. He wrote a book which was a sort of breakaway
isn't.
hit in the conspiracy world called Cows.
Say again?
He isn't respected in his field. I ain't never heard of him.
I've never heard of him either.
That's a lie.
It's Britain's secret killers, and he
That's true, though. They do kill people.
The amount of cows, the amount of ramblers killed by cows every year, he claims is 17,000 people, and he thinks the whole thing is hushed up by Big Pharma. And so
FARM.
yeah. And he's writing a book at the moment about how he's discovered that Ringo Starr was potentially a KGB agent.
Well, that could be true.
Could be true. Yeah, it
You
could be
know,
working for
surprising people.
Well, makes sense.
Just sounds like a load of nonsense.
Hold on a second. Now you're gonna say Ringo Starr was an agent? Really?
I don't
This
know.
guy's a quack job.
This is what we are painted as. What he's describing and positioning this discussion is his own stupid, nonsensical ramblings about conspiracy that he's trying to tar us with the brush of. That's all this is.
Sense, isn't it? Back in the USSR and all that stuff. Octopus's Garden is obviously a coded song.
We aren't this, though. But this is what the mainstream want. If you're going to talk about Flat Earth and put a Flat Earth title on it, have Dom Jolly talk total nonsense. But frame it like it's Flat Earthers.
Of some form. But yes, so he's very much, he sort of believes everything that I don't. And so I thought, because this is such a controversial subject, I thought in the interest of balance, I should have him come along with me. But he's been posting some very strange...
You can't even keep a straight face while you're saying this stuff, Dom. It's clear that you're just a liar. You know damn well how your stooge is being manipulated by you in this example. But yet you'll smirk and try and keep a straight face while you tell people that you don't believe the things that he's putting out there.
Hi, I'm Quentin from Black Magic Design.
When you contrast them. Yeah, I don't believe a word of it, Dom. Jamie smirked when you said it, otherwise I might have just believed you. Right, that's it. That was all Dom had to offer. I was expecting more. I was expecting better.
I was
Yeah, but this
trigger
is
happy too.
this is what was I gonna, this is because they're preempting. This is an attack because we're gaining ground. So everybody's coming out and trying to paint this as a bunch of quacks.
Yeah, well, he can hide behind painting us as a load of quacks, as painting his own face. That's because that's what he's actually doing, isn't he?
Which is a big letdown. There's so many flat earthers, legitimate flat earthers that people in this community know about that you could, use as a stooge. Why are you going to go to the depths of some ridiculum to get a square? I've never even heard of a square earther till now, and get them. I expected more from Trigger Happy TV.
No, I heard of square earthers. They're just not too cool.
You've heard of square earthers, have you really? You mean you've heard of people talking about the Orlando Ferguson map?
You didn't hear what I said. I said they're just not too cool.
Oh, like not hip to be square.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as always, please let that videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully they'll come along and hear some of the discussion that takes place after the fact and realise that Earth is measured flat and that much of what wasn't even positioned by Dom Jolly, I mean, he had nothing that even like claimed to ever have. There's the Orlando Ferguson map, just happens to be on screen. Perfect timing. This is what he's talking about. Square and stationary Earth. Does that mean that there's square and stationary Earthers, according to you, Neil?
Yeah, they're not cool.
You'll also notice that that's not a flat Earth.
No, it's a bowl.
Is the guy on the left side supposed to be God if this is supposed to be the Earth?
That's Orlando Ferguson. So it's his imagination using scripture. So he's got the four corners and the winds and there's bits of scripture. But more importantly, it's just his imagination, but it's him demonstrating it's not a ball with scripture. Scripture that condemns the globe theory, look at the bottom. So that's what I've actually got original print of this. My wife bought it for me. It's up in the house, up on the wall. So it's just a really nice. You look here, look. Got Neil's favourite bit, the second bit. And the sun stood still and the moon stayed, Joshua 10. So that's kind of really what it's more about, is just pointing out that there's points of within scripture that demonstrably deny a rotating ball Earth.
What I'm impressed with is at 1440p resolution, you can actually read some of that text on my live stream. Top quality. Awesome. Thank you, Adam.
No worries.
I was expecting more, as much as it seems poor, but usually to be a good comedian, you've got to have a high degree of intelligence. And therefore, you would hope that someone like Dom Jolly, when they put their hand to flat Earth, don't just say, I've got a stooge that thinks really crazy stuff and I'm going to take the mickey out of him. One of the things is Finland doesn't exist, so I went to Finland with my wife. You're like, really? Is this it? This is your standard now? This isn't high quality intellectual work anymore, Dom Jolly. I'm not suggesting that walking down an escalator with a giant mobile phone is highly intellectual, but by the same token, that did get everyone laughing. So, make of that what you will. Maybe you just struck lucky with Trigger Happy. There was me thinking you had some sort of a brain to achieve that sort of stuff. Not anymore.
Well, he got us laughing with that.
Yeah. But like I say, typically you think, well, that's obviously tapped into a certain part of people's sense of humour, which normally takes a high degree of intellect. Being funny is hard. But yeah, it's just a surface puke regurgitator when it comes to flat Earth, and coming across like he's looked into the subject by talking about Orlando Ferguson, which isn't necessarily covered that widely, is where it's like, if you are a fellow surface puke regurgitator or surface puke listener, you're going to go, Dom sounds like he knows his stuff. I've not heard of this. All I ever hear is flat earthers talking about boats not going over horizons that I claim and don't realise it.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the standard to debunk a topic, then go to Scientology, debunk Scientology, and then obviously heliocentrism's false, right? Is that the standard, really?
I mean, to a certain extent, depending on the extent that you debunked Scientology, Scientology is a heliocentric spin-off. I actually think that's more useful as time goes by than it might meet the eye, because detaching somebody from their own religion while still keeping them in a position where they can have their religion debunked from the outside in. What do I mean? If you're talking about Scientology, people will go, what a crazy fundamentalist religion. A cult. Okay. but you appreciate that that cult is based in the same worldview as your own religion, heliocentrism. It's one and the same thing, in fact. All of the flying DC-9s or whatever he's got taking thetans to volcanoes, that's a space-based religion. It's no different to heliocentrism in that regard. Every bit of the stories that come from the space-based religion of Scientology is no different to your space-based religion of heliocentrism, with your sky vacuums and your planets miles and miles away and all that stuff. That's the same religion. If you can get someone to step back from their own religion without realizing it, I think Scientology is a useful lever to do that. Don't get me wrong, I haven't honed a lever out of that particular subject yet, but I'm certain that there is one there that's useful for us when trying to divorce globe believing normies from their faith and belief in a globe. For that reason, I keep up with a fair few Scientology channels run by ex-Scientology members. I'm sure I've mentioned it a few times. It's just there's never been anything that's come out of it that I've been able to directly link to this subject in a more profound way than I just did, which is to say that it, in time, with a bit of refinement, may be useful for snapping people out of their religion. So up until now, we say go to Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent will give you a soft landing into the subject with a few ideas of how the world might be, so that you can conceptualize your way away from the ball. But that isn't necessary if you've got something that people already mock and ridicule. Scientology. Well, that's a space-based religion, same as heliocentrism. Just need a bit of padding in between, and it might actually successfully snap a few people out of their globe faith.
Yeah, but the existence of Galactic Lord Zeno is not dependent. Well, the existence of heliocentrism is not dependent on the existence of Galactic Lord Zeno.
No,
You
it's
see
the
what I'm
other way
saying?
around. Galactic Lord Zeno is dependent on the world of heliocentrism.
Right. But not vice versa.
They're saying by disproving the notions of Xenu in heliocentrism, it's not going to necessarily have the knock-on effect of taking a heliocentrist out of their religion. It just takes an aspect of the religion out. So it's like saying, well, okay, in other religions, Electric Universe, for instance, the sky is a very different makeup of, let's say, gases and plasmas compared to what you think it is, sky vacuum. So ether versus sky vacuum doesn't necessarily mean that the person's going to drop the ball because they realise that it isn't ether, or indeed isn't a sky vacuum. They might still continue with that worldview, just, oh, well, sky isn't a vacuum then. But we're still on a ball flying through whatever.
Well, now they could hold the idea of like being a geocentrist and in a contained system. But if you debunk space, they don't have an Earth to fly through something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that works the other way around. If I'm trying to put a Scientologist out of their cult, you point out that, well, in your cult with Xenu, but most of them don't know this. This is a misconception about Scientologists, that they all have this, a bit like with, if you had a really casual Christian and you asked them what's the basis of your religion, they might not understand giving your heart to Jesus and being saved, but they might, or more assuredly would understand that the religion had something to do with Jesus and his crucifixion, for example, at a very bare bones level. Someone who was uneducated and not very Christian and didn't often go to church. By contrast, someone who's in the Scientology religion will have never, more likely than not, have never heard of Xenu and won't have the slightest idea what that means or what implications it has. That's like OT4 level or whatever they call it. And you've got to pay a significant amount of money to get to the level where L. Ron Hubbard's teachings about things like thetans and Xenu are given out to you on your path of discovery and enlightenment, on your way to dropping your body and realizing your thetan potential or whatever it is they teach you. But at that level, you're going to be a millionaire paying for that information, as opposed to your average run-of-the-mill Christian who would know about Jesus' crucifixion. So to say, well, if I debunk the notion of Xenu coming from a galactic outer space, that would snap a Scientologist out of their religion. No, most of their religion is based on building up your own abilities, and it's a bit like a self-help group in that regard, as opposed to what you might perceive from the outside if you've watched South Park, and that's that all Scientologists have got this religion about Xenu. No, they haven't. They've got a religion about bettering themselves and decrying mental therapy. There's various other things that are a bit weird about it, but those aside, it isn't necessarily the religion that people perceive it to be. It is, but it's just not at the lower levels. And why did we get onto Scientology from Dom Jolly?
Because he was using a crazy cult within Flat Earth as his debunking of Flat Earth.
I see.
And it'd be this, yeah.
Yeah, John just mentioned it and you ran with it because we know you are so into this Scientology.
I am. There's going to be something that comes up eventually that I'll go, that's definitely going to be useful. I see the globe as a cult, and I see Scientology as a cult. The fact that there's a parallel, there's going to be a break in the line eventually. There's going to be some crossover. I'll keep looking. It might come to nothing. It's just a spin-off of heliocentrism, right?
No, I think you're on the mark. I definitely think you're on the mark. You're seeing very clear.
I smelled something useful, and I just haven't found it yet. I've been looking at it for probably a year and a half.
Have you ever listened to some of the stuff that Leah Remini puts out? The actress?
No. About what?
She was deep into Scientology. And she had gotten out, and now her mission is to pull other people out. Sort of like, what is that, Plato's Cave? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Coming out of a cult. That's why.
Yeah, she has a lot of material.
That would be my best example.
I watched Growing Up in Scientology and the Scientology Money Project and a few others. Go on, John.
And Leah Remini would be my best example for someone who has left that cult but still remains in heliocentrism.
Yeah, Leah Remini I've seen interviewed several times. And she's like their poster child, isn't she, for leaving that cult?
It's a very dangerous cult. They will kill you.
Oh, yeah. I think they just harass the hell out of you, actually. I've seen it. So, Aaron, or Aaron, however he wants to say his name, Aaron, from Growing Up in Scientology, has private investigators set on him by Scientologists quite frequently because he's exposing their nonsense. He's even been locked up recently. I forget what for. It was more recent. I don't remember what it was, but he was reporting something about Scientology and ended up getting arrested. A bit like Adam.
Totally innocent. Yeah. I'm just thinking what that Jolly thing was about. It was a desperate attempt to make Flat Earth a conspiracy theory. He didn't cover it, but he happily mentioned other conspiracy theories which were farcical in what he's doing. I don't see Flat Earth sitting there. I think that's where they try to put it, but it doesn't sit there. It sits there as observation, science. Do you know what I mean? That they can try and pigeonhole it, and in doing so, they what they do is what he did, which is to go to the ridiculum or to go to some false straw man to try and tackle with it. I do think that's where they do where he struggled there. He's trying to link conspiracy with flat Earth or full denial.
And this is why I think there's a select number amongst us, not us here, but us flat earthers, that are selected, if you will, to be mocked or interviewed because they have a certain conspiratorial aspect to what they do. And therefore it is easier to take that person and ignore the difficult to find ridicule in aspects of measuring Earth flat and simply focus on their speculation about ice walls or hidden lands or resources or domes.
Because that is, isn't it? That is conspiracy. Ice walls. What's beyond an ice wall if an ice wall exists? Did the Nazis go there? Is Hitler in an Antarctic base? Oh, give me a minute. Let's remind. So, yeah. But within all these conspiracies, this flat Earth proofs. We were discussing, weren't we? The Antarctica stuff and Admiral Byrd. And I started looking at it. Give me a minute. Let me get this up. And I found a picture in some of the documentation. It's part of the map, which has got like a Gartha on and this strange Nazi map. And this is just the bottom bit. I'll share it. But what I found in all of this nonsense, whether Antarctic's true, whether it's the one landmass, I don't care whether there are Nazis there or not. Whether the map's true or not, I don't care. What I did find interesting was that when they forged this or made it real, and this is supposedly the U-boats going under the ice, look at it. It's a flat Earth map with horizontal parallels for you to travel. Every part of it, and accurate going on under subterranean submarine tunnels under Antarctica. But for it to be accurate, it's a flat level plane, and everything's referenced to a continuance of parallels: 10 degrees, 22 degrees, 0, 8. Yeah.
But just to stress Adam's point, within the speculation that I'm trying to veer people away from, there is flat Earth evidence that you can use to just state as fact that this demonstration of the landmass and topology is evidentiary flat. You can't get away from it. But my argument would be you'd go here to take this speculation that your opponent brings up if they bring up Antarctica and try and foist it upon you. And you take it to, well, no, it's measured and charted flat like everywhere, from what we understand. But in terms of, if I was to take this, I wouldn't do it with something that someone can say, well, let's speculate about Antarctica and ask you to answer questions about something you've never discovered or been to, or, you know, there's a lot of shrouded in mystery aspects of it. Let's go to just one of the new worlds. Let's go to one of the colonies and just show how it wasn't on the map and now it is. And then if you want to show how the land's been topographically mapped out flat, of course, then every single aspect of what I bring up is, number one, not possible to be ridiculed. Number two, stone cold fact. Number three, proving flat Earth at every opportunity. This, even though Adam would be, in this example, taking somebody's speculation that you're being asked about, no doubt, if you're a flat earther, with regards to Antarctica, and saying, well, you can speculate about whether or not the Nazis went there because you're a conspiratard, Mr. Globe, believing I'm going to ask you this question by burden of proof reversal fallacy. But within Antarctica, we've got flat Earth evidence. Here it is. This is how it's charted. Flat, like everywhere. Thank you, Adam. Perfect. But you wouldn't lead with this, would you, Adam? You wouldn't go to this, because you can do this with any bit of land.
If somebody wanted to, if I'm in a discussion about flat Earth and they bring up ice walls in that, I'd
exactly
do the standard rhetoric. But I'd say, but actually, if you want to look at all that conspiracy stuff, there is one thing, whether it's true or false, that demonstrates, the purveyors of this story, they believed it was flat as well. Look, because look how they've made the charts.
It's the only way they can be made. Exactly. So take what they've given you in their conspiratard spin that false dichotomy evidence would suggest you would claim as a flat earther, therefore here's the garbage back at you so you can defend it for me now as I postulate it to you. That's what they will do. No, I'm not going to postulate about the bloody penguins or about the new land or the area size of America says the chronological scope. I'm not interested. It's charted flat, just like everywhere. You can have your conspiratard nonsense about flat Earth speculation about Antarctica, but it's not. It's been put into the discussion by someone that isn't me. As I am the arbiter of what should be in this discussion from this point forth. We will only talk about how Earth is measured flat. because then we can't be ridiculed
Yeah,
for
but
coming up with garbage.
But like this information right here would be further down the line. If you're the very beginning of a conversation wouldn't be directly to go to this. This would be in response to something they said about this topic, is what you're saying, right?
My response would be, if you want me to discuss anything in terms of flat Earth and Antarctica nonsense, this is about all I've got for you. That in all of that conspiratorial nonsense that exists, whether this is true or false, it doesn't really matter. The purveyors of this story, look, with the secret subroute on your subterranean underground water, whether all that's true, whether when you get there, Hitler and his grandchildren, it doesn't really matter. In this story, the way this story is portrayed is on a flat Earth with horizontals, yeah, running for hundreds of miles in subterranean to guide a submarine. The way they've described it to be done accurately and safely is on a flat Earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Spot on, Adam. I just want to give Adam some props because that's exactly the sentiment I want people to see. Don't pander to their garbage. Take it to an actual flat Earth proof that you can't be ridiculed over. This is the textbook example of doing that if Antarctica was to come up. Such high props for Adam. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If they drag you into it, that this is beautiful, because you can tell. I mean, they put a lot of work into that. You know, there's quite a bit of work been put into it.
Yeah, and it might just be another load of conspiratards that are trying to prove that there's secret bases, Nazi bases in Antarctica, at this landmass at the bottom of a ball. But it doesn't matter because look at how they charted it and demonstrated how you do it accurately with proper sub knowledge. Yeah, in terms of how you. I wish Brian was here because he's got the detail how you use a sub. But this is the point in doing that. They demonstrate. But to do it safely and accurately, it's done across a flat plane. And each angle change is reference to another, the same horizontals. It's a really, like this bottom bit, look, it's all horizontals. They're all reference to a flat Earth. There's no curvature in this.
What do you mean all?
Nice, Adam.
Is it not all done from a single point, as Bev's suggesting?
Just from one angle.
And we're going to have a meeting with Brian while he's never here anymore. What'd you say to him, Nathan?
What do you mean, what did I say to him?
His body clock's out, isn't it? He's all over the shop at the moment. He's on one of them. He went to bed about 6 o'clock yesterday, didn't he?
Brian's a very free spirit. He'll come when he feels like it. Are you missing sympathy from him?
Speaking of, as to bring up Brian, he mentioned that someone within our community is saying that a straight line is an angle.
Yes, it's ridiculous. That would be, let's call him out. Flatzoid. What are you on about?
I don't know what you're on about. Flatzoid says that a straight line is an angle. What, like 180 degrees?
Well, see, you got to have a vertex. You have to break that line into two lines to describe it as an angle of 180 degrees. You can't just say a line is an angle. That's not true. You need to create a vertices, separate the two lines so that they're connecting to create a 180 degree angle.
Oh, I see what you mean. So, in other words, at the center point of a line, if you put another line with 90 degrees either side of it moving up, then you can say this line is 90 degrees to the baseline, and the line one side of this vertical line is 180 degrees. But then you're just describing two separate lines. But you could simultaneously also describe that as zero, right? No angle.
Right.
But no angle is no angle. It's not an angle of 180 degrees.
Right. Until you put the point of reference within the line and separate it into two lines, you do not have an angle.
Yeah, like on screen. So if you've got H as the point that I would just describe, right? So H has got a 90 either side of it. but then you've effectively drawn out a protractor, and you're saying that the line along the bottom could be described at one end as 0 and the other at 180.
No, you just got a
Well, from
line.
the
It's
point
just
of
a
view,
line, exactly.
This is why we have words, and words have meanings. So if we've just got a line, we've just got a line. We can't pretend it's two lines and then say therefore it's 180 degrees. Because we'd say I've got two lines that are 180 degrees. That's how you describe it. If you've just got a line, that's why we just say I've just got a line. What is going on?
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to reset my router to drop in frames. Is that a regular thing that you have to do now? I remember over the last year and a half when I was messing around with the computer, at some point I had to reset the router as I looked up an issue, and I'm like, all right, so you have to reset routers. Is that something you have to do like regularly? Turn them off and on again?
I give mine a kick when it just, sometimes they just shut down, don't they?
I just didn't. Router's one of those things that I want to turn on and never think about again, as opposed to, oh, it's been a week since I last turned it off and on again. Anyway.
No, I don't do that. It's only when I have problems, I'll just go and switch it off and reboot it.
I'll do that later as I've dropped a few frames. Not that anybody was probably going to notice. Because we didn't do much on housekeeping because it all went silent. We're about 10 minutes before the end of the live show, maybe a bit less. And yeah, we've covered Dom Jolly already. I thought it was a longer video, to be honest. Did you want to add something, Ray? Because you were off mute earlier when I tried to stop John.
Yeah, I did want to jump in just briefly and just ask, is our flat Earth position not conspiratorial by nature, in the sense that we're suggesting that the powers that be are conspiring to cover up the true nature of Earth? Like, I know what you're saying about,
No,
you know,
so
where's the
I get all
conspiracy?
the icefall stuff.
We covered this in the pre-show, but yeah, the conspiracy is the globe. What are people conspiring to do? Well, to convince you that you're on a ball in a sky vacuum. That's the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are
you from Australia?
That makes sense.
Do you really exist?
I live in Australia. I've lived here for a long time. I'm actually English and I'm from Britain, but yeah, I've lived here for a very long time. So I'm basically fair income mate today.
What did you make of Dom Jolly suggesting that Flurfs have got a notion that Australia doesn't exist? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that. It's kind of crazy. I live here. It's an amazing country, and would recommend that you visit if you haven't been before. Definitely exists.
According to Dom Jolly, apparently there's a whole faction of square flat earthers that say that Australia doesn't exist, and indeed Finland.
Why Finland?
I don't know. Perhaps his wife just wanted to go there, and he thought, if I incorporate part of this story that Finland doesn't exist, then I can take her there to say, ha ha, look, it does. I don't know. It made no sense to me.
Okay, that's pretty funny. I'm
But
trying not to laugh.
the nature of the ground you're standing upon itself is just up to measurement. It's not really up for speculation or theory. It's just, it is.
Okay, the analogy I gave in the pre-show was with unicorns. So if I manage to gather up everybody and convince them that every horse is really a unicorn, it's just you're not magical enough to see the wings sprout, the thing fly, and it have verbal communication in English with other unicorns. You can't see it because you're not magical enough. Now, if at a certain stage I get everybody on board and everyone believes, as I tell them, that horses are really unicorns, you just don't get to see them be the unicorns and sprout the wings, and that's the general precedent and everybody accepts it. And then one dude comes along and goes, nah, they're just horses. Do you point at that guy and go, conspiratard? No. Everybody who's convinced that the horses are going to sprout wings when they're not looking are under the misapprehension because of a conspiracy. The guy who says they're just horses is just a guy pointing out what is, because they are just horses. He's just saying that they are just horses. That doesn't make him a conspiracist if he goes to another man and talks about how, is it a bit weird how everyone around us thinks that they're going to sprout wings that they never see? Would you then, because they're discussing it amongst themselves, together rather, call them conspiracists? I don't think so. Conspiracy theorists? No. Discussing what is. Shout out to Unitox Femi for the super chat. There is a country not exist anymore, but it's not Australia. What country is that?
Yeah, hold on. That would be America.
What? Let's drop acid. What's going on?
America does not exist anymore.
Okay.
North America or South America?
I'm pretty sure it does, but that's your bag, Neil. Fine. You crazy nutty.
Country I once knew does not exist anymore. Therefore, America does not exist.
Well, if you want to get technical, drawing arbitrary lines on a map and having people believe that they own that, the boundaries of that never existed to begin with.
I think Neil's thinking America. If you say it with an M, M-U, America, that doesn't exist anymore. It used to back in the 80s.
This ain't my America.
Exactly. That don't exist no more.
The 80s, that was it. The 80s will never be again.
Oh, you miss all the perms.
That was the best time of my life. So 1983, mark it and know that was Neil Cosentino's year.
Okay, well, I'm glad we got to reminisce with you, Neil.
You want to hear the details?
No, I'm good. Do they prove Earth's flat?
No, I'm sorry, they don't.
No,
That's obvious.
Unfortunate. Oh, what a shame. Okay, so quick shout out. Tomorrow we're going to be over on Earth Awakenings. So, if you want to join us, if I happen to forget and mention it, or not mention it in the introduction when I tell you to click on the link below, it won't be a link below, it'll be a link in the live stream chat. So if you did happen to want to join tomorrow's show, or you happen to be a member of the Earth Awakenings Discord server, then we will be frequenting that particular server tomorrow instead of the usual Flat Earth Debate server. Expanding our horizons, so to speak. So be here or be sphere tomorrow on Flat Earth Debate for that. A few minutes left, so please share the show if you've not done so already. Almost 100 people watching, 96 people watching. Woohoo! Smash that share button. If we can get it to 100 in the next 2 or 3 minutes, we'll extend the live show a little bit.
Let's go. Share. This is the best show on YouTube. What's going on?
I had some really complimentary comments about the quality of the material on the live shows recently. I think it's because I'm less concentrating on temperatures of computers and things, but I listened back. Somebody gave me a timestamp and they were like, this section was excellent. And I went back and listened and I was like, you know what? It really is. The standard of this show is really high at the moment. The information, that is.
What was that he pointed out? Do you remember?
No. I think it was on it was on two shows ago. It was like between 5 and 15 minutes in the live stream of the one where we were in Flat Earth 24/7. We're just discussing the whys and wherefores of Earth being flat, Neil, generally speaking.
Yeah, well, we stick to that. And the material coming from here is, can't compare to it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
And when I say that, I mean QE and, the whole crew.
Sometimes people do try and muddy the waters of a flat Earth truth with 9/11 and things like that.
Yeah, righteous. You conspiratard.
We'll see the irony in that. So when I got here, I had Tim Osman on my case telling me that this flat Earth conspiracy was muddying the waters of the 9/11 truth. End quote, Tim Osman.
Did he really say that?
Yes, that is a verbatim quote.
Well, that was when the stars rotated in a different direction in the southern hemisphere, was it not? In those days?
But then, yeah. These days, Tim Osman's most recent quote, nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve, end quote.
Oh, you beat me to it with pictures of Earth curve.
With pictures
Supposed.
of the horizon labeled Earth curve. Multiple horizon pictures. Earth curve is the title. Quote, Tim Osman, nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve, end quote. I was after he heard the Black Swan for the first time. Not heard it for the first time, had it put to him in person for the first time. By me, I believe.
I like the two-star rotations because you need a plane of reference to describe that rotation from. You know, I really like that one now.
Certainly cuts through the crap of having to deal with Coriolis effect now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. If you need a flat plane to describe the rotation from, then how does it become any problem for you that the stars are rotating? Yeah.
Not a problem in the slightest for me. If any ball earther says the stars are rotating, I agree with them.
But then how? Then you're disproving the Earth rotating. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Conspiracy is a real thing.
Absolutely. People conspire to do stuff all the time. But because I don't know what it was. It was some stuff that I read somewhere about the FBI back in the 60s or whenever it was, maybe under Edgar Hoover, where they coined the term conspiracy theory to, negate all of these quote unquote nut jobs who were coming up with, again, quote unquote wacky ideas or suggestions around what had happened. But the reality is that the term conspiracy is merely derived from to conspire, and people conspire to do shit all the time.
That's right.
There's nothing crazy about that.
No, there's not. I mean, if you think about it in that, a prosecutor has a conspiracy theory that he's trying to prove to a jury to convict you. If you want to use it in the context that, you're just putting facts together to formulate a narrative. What's wrong with that?
That's a really, really good point. That's a really good way of putting it. But a lot of people aren't gonna see it from that perspective. You're gonna have to drill it into them. It's like, hang on, think about what the term means. Don't just associate it with what's been thrown at you, conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's a
look
term
at the
you're
word
absolutely
conspiracy.
right about. Conspiracy theory is some CIA idea to paint people as nut jobs. To conspire is something very different to what is contextually defined as a conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist. Nut job, aka the narrative from the CIA.
Conspiracy
It's
theory
totally
in
reasonable.
air quotes stands as basically somebody that opposes the mainstream rhetoric. It has its own meaning, not related to the word conspire specifically. Yeah? It's been, I think the CIA is the famous quote, isn't it? How it's been weaponized. That word and a new phrase generated because of what it implies. It implies you've got a lacking in mental faculties. It has all sorts of negative connotations to the person that ultimately is trying to expose a conspiracy. And a conspiracy being something where it's, what's the word? To conspire, make secret plans jointly to commit an unlawful or harmful act. There's nothing unlawful or harmful in telling people the Earth's flat.
Exactly. Let's get the definition correct. Way to go.
the harm's being done by the people that are telling you it's a shape and the evidence they're giving is false. That would be the conspiracy. That's the people that are trying to do harm. But
Exactly.
I'd separate that from, like, say, the connotated word conspiracy theorist.
Well, people did get together and conspire to make the world a globe and all its inhabitants to believe that.
Who are these people, Neil?
It's a collective group, and it goes over different time periods, but they're all on the same page. Copernicus, right? Galileo. Who else? Rahi. All the usual suspects. You know who they are, John, better than I do.
Right. But did they communicate to confuse people that they're on a globe, or did they believe that they were on a globe and they were just merely stating what they believe and trying to justify it?
That's a tough one. I have to say that I believe, it's my opinion, that they knew exactly what they were doing. Remember, there's a leader, there's someone at the top who said at one time, I will ascend my throne above the stars. I will be like the Most High.
That's not fair. Can't bring the devil into it.
He's the top dog, and then you have heliocentrism. Why can't I? It's got a one world religion. The whole world believes in this nonsense. That want to spin in water ball, and it's very elegant. It's not some ragtag design. Elegant.
Tim, can you send me that picture of the Orlando Ferguson? She's got a really good picture of it.
Will do.
Thank
It
you
was on
very
a
much.
web link.
Well, you know what, Neil? All right. The devil is the top conspirator, and everyone else below him doesn't know the truth.
You don't think that Newton and all those people knew the truth?
Fitting reasonably, asking him to define the motivation of dead men.
That's where we do descend into conspiracy theorists. Yeah, in the truest sense, when we try to paint a historical picture of how the web has been woven, that's not provable. A, it's been done too well. Yeah. And B, you're only working with the pieces they're giving you, and therefore you instantly become a conspirator when you try to prove that.
So hold on, let me get this straight. So you're saying that they think, so they were looking at the stars, and they were looking at these, let's say, spherical planets, and they naively put this together,
No.
like, hey, maybe we're not, maybe we're moving and the stars are stationary. And maybe we're on this round thing that I see up in the sky.
No, we're saying you can't speak to what they knew. You don't know what they knew. So why even bother?
Why? Okay. How did this all start? Let's go to the beginning. When did this all jump off? When everybody thought, rightly so, that they're living on flat Earth, all of a sudden it's becoming a globe over time.
Why is that necessary to prove that it's a flat plane? I don't understand. What's the purpose of this conversation?
No, I'm trying to find out the culprit or who started the conspiracy of the globe.
You know, when you point fingers, you got three pointing back at you.
I didn't start the globe. I'm trying to find out the culprit. Who started this globe nonsense? Where it was so freaking strong that they began to teach it in schools and
Copernicus.
still do till this day.
Show yourself, PL.
Why does what they believed in an area, you know, because you're talking about people that have been dead for thousands of years, what they did or didn't believe, like, how are you going to, I don't know. It just seems like such a weak point to try to formulate anything that you can know from.
Got us freaking in some sort of solar system. Well, orbits. And I'm on a supposed water ball.
Do you want the historical reason for why the orbits were created?
Yes.
To better predict when Easter will come.
So
Right,
it's
Neil.
the Roman Catholics. They're the culprit.
Blame the church, Neil.
Yeah, but you don't know that they knew it wasn't a sphere and they were just lying to, you know, because there was some resistance.
Come on. So one day they woke up and said, hey, we're on the ball.
Are you guys saying Neil is a conspiracy theorist? Is that what you guys are saying?
Come on, they woke up and all of a sudden out of nowhere, people started saying, hey, you know what? We live on a ball.
No, they misinterpreted data is more likely than anything. They just misinterpreted the data and lost respect for the plane of reference that they were collecting that data from, and come up with the conceptualization that the plane they took their measurements from was actually a sphere. That's what happened, more than likely.
I'm not buying it.
We have people in this arena that still do it to this day. They'll use a flat plane to try to prove that it's a sphere. It happens like right in front of your eyes, and you won't accept that it happened in history.
Can't argue at that point.
Yeah, you are spot on. It was just better to find out when Easter was. You don't know if the people who came up with those systems, derived from flat Earth understandings of the stars and their movements, were in any way intending that system to be reified into the actual sphere that people think they're standing on today. It's just a better way of understanding and tracking the motion of the stars. To give the motion of the stars a title, retrograde motion, in an orbital description, doesn't necessarily mean the person who comes up with that system actually thinks the ground is spherical. Just a model. But we don't know that either. They might have reified it. We don't know.
And it's such a weak, because you'll never know. There's no way of knowing. You know what I mean? It's just such a weak point to argue.
Yep.
But on the bright side, you can show how they were wrong.
Or how, if they're inferred to be right, they used flat Earth angle measurements to be right. Going to reify your religion from what they used to better describe when Easter would come.
I mean, that's just one of those made-up stories, isn't it? To justify the introduction. I think Brian covered it quite well. To be able to do that, you have to have such a fantastic understanding anyway of the movement to be able to then put it into another theoretical orbital mechanism. It's just one of those two not quite believable stories in history of why things have occurred for me. Like most of history.
Yeah, I'm not saying they were dummies. They were very smart. Most psychopaths and lunatics are very smart.
I just find it interesting more than anything that when it comes to the discussion of the Earth and whether or not it's flat or round, most people, when they're trying to argue their point, tend to point to stuff that isn't related to the Earth. They'll point to celestial objects in the sky. They won't talk about the Earth at all. They'll be like, oh, eclipses suggest this, and the stars suggest this, and everything other than the actual Earth suggests what the Earth is. For me, that in and of itself,
that's telling, isn't it?
Is laughable. Oh yeah. It's crazy. It's like, hang on, we're talking about this. Let's talk about the Earth. Let's not talk about everything else. You're making too many presuppositions. Let's talk about the Earth. But yeah.
Well, that's what my son does constantly. Constantly goes to the stars. Never. It's not the ground. That must be the mantra. It's not the ground. It's always moving away from the ground. We stand top.
They have no respect for the plane of reference.
Well, that's it, John. If they start talking about the ground, it's all over.
I like that as a concession. It's just not the ground. What, the thing we've just measured and are navigating on and finding our position if we're lost? That's not the ground, right? Nah, it's not the globe ground. No, you're right, it's not.
Nathan, who was that guy that came in? He was telling a story of how they found some land or something, or map. We were in another server, and you were about to round out.
I
Shoot.
don't know.
But he was a big not the ground guy.
He was.
What did he say? I should have never started off. Oh man, I gotta find that.
You're looking forward to going to Earth Awakenings tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Did you do a shout out on the show that you were going there?
Yes, right at the end of the live show.
You would think,
What's Earth
as much
Awakening?
as they talk about you never leaving your echo chamber, that they would be sharpening their knives and preparing, this is their chance to get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's just a nonsense excuse, as you well know. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just like pointing it out that it's a nonsense excuse because it's not happened yet, has it?
No. But
What's
the door's
Earth
Well,
made
remain
of?
open,
according
I
to
don't
Wixit,
mind.
that's why you're freaking out.
You can have their excuse all they like. I don't mind. Maybe there's some truth to it. Mark Sargent recently shouted me out and claimed I was abusive.
Is this some sort of convention or something?
Yeah, it was at a conference. It was like, Witsit's a great debater. And there's also Nathan, if you like foul language and abuse.
You're probably less foul-mouthed and abusive than you probably used to be.
Yeah, that was the excuse
Yeah,
I
I was
made
going
for
to
Mark.
say that.
I did thank him. I sent him a message saying thank you for the shout out. And he's like, yeah, I occasionally dip in and listen to you rip people's heads off.
It's a backhanded compliment, right? He's
Exactly.
awesome, but he's shit.
Exactly. Backhanded slight, you mean, but yes.
But it is that why people watch is just for the bloodbath?
That's what he specifically said he watched when I thanked him for the shout out. So yeah, you take what you get from the show. I suppose if you come along and see a bloodbath, you're going to take it as that's the show. And I had the bloodbath being Nathan ripping someone a new one, therefore quote unquote abusive. But I'll take it over and above being called a scammer by someone like Jaren. Let's be honest, that's a shout out nonetheless.
Well, now, I won't say there aren't bloodbaths at times, you know, and everybody gets that when they smell blood in the water, and like Neil says that you're hoarding all the fun, you know. Like there's a nature to people to it, you know, but I don't think that's all the show is.
No, I'd like to think with the cutting edge of flat Earth in terms of the argumentation that we put forth and the proofs and evidence that we put forth, that's what we do here. It's an educational show.
Yeah, and the fact that it's an open door and not an echo chamber, but we're the only ones here, says something.
As it's very quiet.
So I'm
Yeah.
sort of a long-term or long-time listener, not often participator. Is Arwen and is it Anthony, Sleeping Warrior? Are those guys still around? I feel like I haven't heard them for a little while.
Anthony got pissed with me last time he came because I rumpused him. And he fell out with me and has never contacted him back since. And that's been about a couple of months now. Arwen, he disappeared and I haven't really followed since. I don't know what's going on with Arwen, if I'm honest. Last message I received was that he's had some court summons for a £500 debt. Coincidentally, the exact amount he felt he was owed from Flat Earth debate, from what I heard on the grapevine. What else was there?
Iron tears. Literal tears.
Shut up, Neil.
Him as a con man. Sorry. That's what a con man would do. I would, you know something? I would cry too if my debt was $500. I would cry tears of freaking.
Tears of friggin' what? Maybe we'll never know. We'll never.
Tears of joy.
Joy. Oh, jolly good.
Apologies, I didn't realize there was like politics or drama around. I was genuinely just asking where
Not for
they
me,
were.
there isn't.
Okay, good.
The thing that surprised
I
me
miss
about
hearing them.
Anthony is
That's
that
all I'm saying.
the thing that surprised me about Anthony was that he said, you know, y'all fell out because you rumpused him, but like he's friends with the rumpus.
He's not friends with the rumpus. What are you talking about?
He talks to the rumpus. Yeah, he does.
Doesn't make it. So do
He
I.
still
That doesn't
talks
make
to
him
the
his
rumpus.
friend. No, I'm not going to stand for that.
No, I ain't gonna say friends then, but he still talks to the Rumpus. I don't get it.
Yeah, but if I happen to be talking to the Rumpus because he joined the show, despite him being banned, time to bugger off first and foremost. But yeah, that'd be me talking to him if I went into tomorrow. If he's there and he happens to be talked, and none of their moderation team feel he's doing anything wrong, there's a good chance I'll end up in discussion with him. But that doesn't make me culpable for flack, does it?
No, what I'm saying is he stopped talking to you because he says that you rumpused him, and maybe you did, or I'm not really sure because it seemed like a back and forth. But the fact is, he would still talk to the Rumpus. I don't know why he wouldn't still talk to you.
Because he doesn't think that Nathan gave him a fair shake and treated him other than a friendly. All right? And if he can't get his point across, which I don't understand because he had ample time to get his point across, and he was not being rumpused. And if he doesn't he didn't want to recognize that Nathan also has a show. There is an entertainment value to it. I think he got offended for no reason. For some reason, Anthony got thin-skinned.
For no reason.
And I like Anthony.
Don't demean his reasoning. Obviously, he's got a reason. He's obviously pissed. And his justification was that I rumpused him, which I did. Bearing in mind, he'd spent about 3 hours prior to the show starting talking through me and shouting me down before the show started. I thought it was
right,
back and forth.
Me, John, and Brian the day before.
It was early days.
And Adam over the phone as well.
Early days for Earth being measured flat. And he objected. There was a back and forth. I try and keep my head down through winter with things like that. Arwen, Sleeping Warrior, both case in point. Right? If you can't keep your head down, that's the kind of thing that goes on. Will fall out with you. Over winter, it all changes as soon as the little spring lambs come along and the beautiful flowers and the fresh air and the cut grass. Everything changes. But especially in the darkest part of winter, which is when all this has occurred, that's when people are at their, darkest.
Nah, there's no excuse for some of the things. I'm sorry. Stop trying to make excuses, especially for Arwen. That's no excuse.
I like making excuses for my friends when they do bad things.
Funny you still label him as a friend. My friends don't tell me they want to crush my skull. I don't care if they owe $20,000.
Who said they wanted to crush your skull?
None of my friends, but your supposed friend did.
Go on, tell me more. It's the first time hearing of this.
Come on, Nathan. The video that Owen made, I'm not going to drag it through again.
I didn't watch it. Oh, that's the end of that discussion then.
Anyway, regardless, I'm sorry, I was doing something. It's sad. It's a con game, and I'm surprised because I'm a good judge of character that I didn't see this way before. But I did see it now. It's a con. Listen, nobody's going to cry over $500. We all know that. I don't care what it is, no matter what you have, $500 is not an amount that you can't reach. So crying into a camera, you just want people to give you money. That's a con.
Why is he con if he's crying for money? I mean, what is con about that?
I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
I say, what makes him con if he's crying for money? There's many people crying for money, and there's many people who would cry for $500.
The amount.
He's just like
that. You didn't hear what I said? The amount. It's not an amount that's an impossibility to get to. Is my point.
But there are a lot of people who do cry over much lesser. There are a lot of people who cry over the, money that they need to get a coffee when they're begging around 42nd Street. So it depends on where your mentality
Okay, but
is.
that's it. All right, Eli, that's a good point. Because then be a beggar. At least a beggar's a beggar.
Niall's
Don't
got a
con
point.
the people that are watching you.
People need
Come right out and say it.
Yeah, but I think like also like Arvin is Arvin, and then you guys were friends too. So you know what friends do when in bad
Not
situations.
no friend to me. You ain't no friend to me.
Okay, good for you.
Sorry, guys. I didn't realize it was
Before
going
you
to
say
turn
that,
this
go
kind of...
listen to some of the shit he said about me, all right? Before you start defending him and simping for him, know what's going on. Get you know what I'm saying? Test the room a little bit. See what's going on.
They know very
Dark
well what's
world
going on.
shit.
What a Christian dude.
Oh my God, here we go.
Keep going, Satan, because Satan's the only one that accuses the brethren. You got some more for me? I have a righteous indignation. And I don't have to answer to you for my Christianity. I have to answer to God. That's the only one. He's the only one that could judge me. Tupac.
But you can judge others. That's fine, right?
I'm not judging. I'm seeing what I see. And the person that's your friend doesn't say the things he said. And the person that's your friend does it because you got yelled at. Go and make a video. I want to stomp your skull in. And if he lived near me, I'd go and see him. And a bunch of the other nonsense that he said. Don't give me that crap. Friends are loyal. Friends got your back. Friends are there when you need them to be there. Friends don't demand income and piss on the income that you did give them. Get my freaking balls twisted early in the morning.
Can I change the subject?
Please.
No.
Someone said no. Damn it, Elvis, there's always one.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is flat Earth related. Let's go with this. In the heliocentric model, am I correct in understanding that light from the stars, which are purported to be, balls of gas, which is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, we're all aware. Light from all of these places around the Earth, is my understanding correct that in their point of view, light travels unhindered until it hits something? So, for example, a star that is supposedly billions or millions of light years away, whenever it is, the light coming from that star is traveling in parallel lines indefinitely until it hits something. Is that what they say? Am I understanding that correctly?
Anybody? Anybody going to answer him?
I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying they claim light is parallel?
No, not specifically that light's parallel, just that light, when it's emitted, travels in whatever direction it travels forever until it hits something, be it our eyes or a surface or whatever it might be. But the light would travel. See, I don't know. Does it travel parallel? I don't know. was getting to a point, and I'm probably going to make myself sound stupid here, so I don't want to probably talk too much. So feel free to just cut me out in my tracks, guys. I would appreciate it.
I wouldn't disagree with what you're saying. As far as I'm aware, yeah, light continues unimpeded in a vacuum.
So, if that were the case, we've got, according to the heliocentric model, we've got light coming from the sun, and it bombards 1/2 of the Earth, right? According to that model. So if we can see all the stars, and the stars are effectively all suns, yes, no, I don't know. If we can see them, and that light is traveling unimpeded, and we can see it from wherever we are on Earth in the night sky, we can see stars forever. Would the Earth not just be perpetually just covered in light?
Oh, what's the name of that? That's a paradox. I have to go to AI right there.
Yes is the answer. Or it's certainly an objection that's been raised prior.
Because I've always struggled with that. I've always wondered, well, why is it that the sun's light is so bright? Yeah, sure, it's close, but they always say that light travels forever unless impeded by something. And if that were true, the universe is apparently just filled with balls of gas that are emitting light everywhere, and we can see them. They're everywhere in the night sky. And if we can see them, the light's obviously reaching here. So I would have assumed that the same amount of light would be hitting the Earth from every angle forever and ever, and we would just be covered in light forever. I wouldn't have thought that the distance of the light would have really mattered, but I don't know. That was just something that I'd struggled with, but I don't know if that's something you guys have discussed or debunked or whatever.
I knew it was a
hard one to answer
paradox.
because it's based on notions that we're currently overcoming with the fact that those models were based on flat Earth measurements, which takes the reification you're asking us to enter into. It makes it that much more difficult to do. 5 years ago, it would be much more simplistic to just take yourself to the heliocentric paradigm and work within the premise that you're on a ball to answer your question within the limitations of that model. But now that we know that the models come from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the stars and a radial value with Polaris, and then an extrapolation using Kepler and the occultation of the sun by a little light we call Venus, all of those things then give them the distances for the question you ask to have relevance. Well, that's quite a difficult place to go. I struggle to watch space movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, which is ironic because I like sci-fi and space movies are probably my favorite genre. Excuse me, of movies to watch. Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek and all that. I love it. I love it. But as I watch it now, I just know it's make believe, and it's not. It is just fiction.
Sure, but your question is almost like that because it's asking me to find plot holes. That's what you're actually looking for, isn't it?
It's called Olber's
Yeah, you're right.
paradox. Okay. Named after German.
Albert?
Olber. Olbers. First described in 1823. If the universe is infinite and uniformly filled with stars that have been burning forever, then any line of sight we look at in the night sky should eventually hit a star. Consequently, the entire night sky should be as bright as the surface of a star and not dark. However, in reality, is that the night sky is mostly dark, with only a few scattered visible stars. Hence the paradox.
So does the paradox only exist because what they assumed would exist doesn't exist?
Yeah, so it's first postulated by German astronomer Heinrich Olbers in 1823. It's a consequence of somebody applying logic to the heliocentric claim. like what you did.
Okay, so it's interesting that they're just like, yeah, logically that should happen, but it doesn't happen. Therefore, it's a paradox, and you've just got to accept that that's the way it is.
But you don't have to, or like I say, I find it difficult to, simply because reification of that model when you know its origins is just that much more hard to do. I just see it as looking for plot holes in a fantasy
No,
story.
I get where you're coming from. From my perspective, I know that the Earth's flat, and so and that space isn't real, and all of this sort of stuff. And so, from my perspective, it's easy to just be like, you're talking about stuff that doesn't make any sense anyway. The concept of stars in space, it's nonsensical. But I just thought it would be a fun thing, A, to change the topic, and B, just to talk about the sort of crap that they try to come up with. But then it feels like they don't really think through, the fact that we've got the same constellations in the sky all year, every year, from every position on Earth, and yet in their model, the Earth is rotating and moving around the sun, and we should be seeing completely different constellations and completely different this, that, and the other. That it feels like they don't even think about that sort of stuff, and most people don't. We don't need to worry about it now because we know the nature of Earth, and we know that all of that is nonsense. But even in their model and with the stuff that they postulate, they don't even think or consider that stuff.
No, they do. Okay, so you've got the changing of the pole star. But because there are certain things that they can see, and because of the precession of the equinox, they've then got to incorporate that into a heliocentric paradigm. That has consequences. It's not, yeah. And that's why the pole star, apparently 13,000 years ago, was a different star.
But that's a claim with no evidence, right?
No, it's a necessary story to make up as a consequence of the heliocentric model again, because, well, all these megalithic monuments line up. Well, they couldn't have done it; it'd have been a different star. Then it has to, because a consequent of the heliocentric model, if you work through it logically, is, well, it would have been pointing in a different place, right? Or in which case, then, yeah, they just had a different pole star back then. There's your resolution for a heliocentrist. Not provable, mildly plausible.
Welcome back, Neil.
Wow, I finally get a welcome back.
Good to see you, old friend. People don't get why Neil's upset, because he is his friend.
Not no more.
Yeah,
It's over.
That's why he's still moaning about it.
Yeah, that's why he still goes on about it all the time, because he's got over it and moved on. Doesn't care anymore.
Oh, not no more.
Why he watches the show all the time, checking.
Well,
He's not bothered.
if we can cross the line. Now, I had a longer line than you, Adam. That line's crossed. Can't do that. When you represent flat Earth debate, I believe when you sit here, you represent it because people are going to point at you and say, this guy, he's part of flat Earth debate. So you have to carry yourself a certain way. I'm sorry.
Amen to that.
I gotta get my composure, please. I knew this was gonna happen. Holy shit!
What are you talking about?
Doing my impersonations. I owe like $30,000. You know what I tell people? Get in line. And out of that 30,000, I guarantee it's out of that 30,000, I'll guarantee you that it's only could be maybe 12,000 in what I owe, and the rest is freaking late fees and whatever else these freaking credit card companies try to hit you on top of the head with. Did I lose connection?
Nah, it's just really quiet now.
Hello? Oh. Yeah, because I'm in and out of reception areas. Satellites ain't working like they used to.
I tried to
They're
read
running
my
out of him.
debate, but it feels like I reopened old wounds and stuff. So apologies for that.
Nah, it's fine.
No apologies, dude. You haven't done anything.
Yeah, it just gives Neil a chance to vent. You didn't. Don't worry about it. You're good.
All right, well, we can find something to talk about. Surely. Do you need some pictures from Australia? Proof that it's real, or
It wasn't. It was Dom Jolly suggesting that, not us. He was suggesting that we would suggest that, if you know what I mean.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna keep things going. Neil, question for you. What was it that brought you to flat Earth? What was the thing that made you question the reality that you'd been taught, the nonsense from school and everything like that? What even brought you here? Because I don't know.
I was working with my brother one day. He does air conditioning, and I was just glorying at the fact that it was a nice sunny day, and I said, "Isn't it amazing how we're moving right now and we don't even feel it, and how far away the sun is?" I was just, amazed at the awe of God's creation. And he said to me, "Why? You think we're living on a ball?" So I said, "What do you mean? Of course. What are you talking about?" And then he started just telling me about flat Earth, really mostly feast and nonsense, telling me he was surrounded by an ice wall and this, that, and the other thing. So I literally berated him for about 2 weeks as I looked into it myself. And the best thing they could give me was climb up a tree to prove you're on a sphere. So that was
So
it.
you came to FE. So you came to FE to the Feast of Nonsense then?
Well, that's what he was he was promoting. This was 2016, I think. Yeah, I was on. Listen, I used to watch Blockbusters all the time, cheering all the time as well. But when I came here, that's when you get straightened out. You see, in the mafia, what they do is they call it straighten them out. When you get straightened out, you become a made guy. That means all your preconceived things that you involved in, any vendettas that you had or grudges, go out the window. So when you come to FED and you meet people like Quantum Eraser, Nathan, I'm not going to name everybody, but you know the names, you get straightened out. And all the other nonsense goes in the garbage.
Okay, so FED, the mafia. Okay, I got you.
No, but it's
So
a good
have you brought your
comparison
brother?
because it's a good comparison because you leave everything else behind. No matter how you feel about it emotionally, you got to leave it behind. You get straightened out. Get straightened out when you come to flat earth debate. You better stay straightened out because when you start going down those stupid trails again, you may wind up
But those
another.
trails got you to FE. They got you to FE, Neil, though. Without those trails, maybe you wouldn't even been an FE guy. You ever thought about that?
Hate this freaking phone. I hate this phone. What was the last question?
repeat what I said,
You
Neil.
got to bring me. You have to bring me there, right? You have to bring me to the fact that David Scheiss mentioned flat earth debate, and that's what brought me here. Okay.
Well, I just said that it was the Feast of Nonsense that brought you to FE. Without it, you may not even arrive at FE.
No, I don't know. I got into 24/7 first, so I would have definitely got here without the shyster scurvy over there.
But wait how do you know you would have got here? I'm talking about, remember, the one that introduced you to FE.
I was on
No, before
24/7. I would have
24/7.
got here. What?
All right, but what led you to 24/7?
I got there first. I went there first. I used to listen to Nathan's show and 24/7 during the pandemic. I had nothing to do, so I figured out how to get on with the great patience of FE Jedi.
No, you're forgetting. Who was the guy that mentioned you think you're living on the... Who was
that
that?
was my brother.
Right. And you labeled what he gave you Feast of Nonsense, correct?
Yeah. He still talks about
Right.
the Feast of Nonsense.
So if it wasn't for your brother giving you Feast of Nonsense, you may not even have came to FE. You wouldn't have found 247.
The Feast of Nonsense has its
Yeah,
uses.
but you don't know that now. It's very popular right now. Now, I think I would have.
I don't know. You can't support that claim. You wouldn't be able to support it. You just have to. You can at least say the Feast of Nonsense got you to FE, and that's true. But it is a possibility. If it wasn't for that, you may not have found it. That's a possibility. Yeah, but if he didn't tell you the Feast of Nonsense, you may never have found FE. That's a reality, right?
No, I would have found it.
All right, go on.
I'm a child of God. I would have found it. God would have led me down the path of truth and justice.
But you're misunderstanding.
And the American way.
But he did lead you down the path through your brother and the Feast of Nonsense.
Why do you want to promote the feast? Is it a
look?
No.
A group event to twist my balls today?
Mate, I'm only here because of the Feast of Nonsense. A lot of people are only here because of the Feast of Nonsense. It's just the stuff that gets you questioning. As soon as you start questioning and as soon as you're able to attain critical thinking, then you're on your way, and you can eventually filter out all the stuff that's complete crap.
That's fine.
But you
that's
just need
fine,
that trigger.
But staying there is the problem. Staying there is the problem. And then once you're out of there, swimming back to the pond for the feast of nonsense is ridiculous. When you come here, it's validate what you claim. And if you stick to that, you will not be in the feast of nonsense. Adam said it best. He said, why are you lowering your standards? Right? Adam?
That's right.
I think the different points that are being made, aren't they? And how you get here, and then once you get here, once you realise why you can jump off a ball, if you then go back to the feast, I think is the critique. But you have to recognise that what we were talking about earlier, conspiracy theory, all of these things that are things that pique your interest, make you start looking at it.
Right, and we're not saying to go back to it. We're just saying it was a path, and it was a viable path for many of us. So it still served the purpose. Now, once you get to FE, we can understand that, hey, yeah, you want to keep it a bit more simple, right? But at the same time,
a bit more.
It's still a path that gets people here. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't know about me. I think I came here through legit reasons. Actually, I don't know. I was looking into some stuff. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was my path
Hold
too.
on, Mike.
Maybe some of the stuff led me.
It's a path. It's a path that gets you here because it's all over the place. Suppose this was the path, right? Then people would come here without the feast of nonsense. If we would be promoted more, the things we talk about, Earth measured flat, celestial navigation, the black swan, right?
Okay. I'll reply to that. Okay. Not one shoe fits all. Right. As a Christian, I'll give you a Christian example. Right. When Jesus was ministering to the sick, he didn't use one method for all of them.
And you can't. That's a false comparison.
What? Okay. How is it?
How can you compare that? That's Jesus healing the sick. Yeah,
It's
he took
it's
dirt
just
and
an
rubbed one
example of
guy's
using
eye.
more than one
The other
method.
one, he said, stand up and still healed them.
I'm just saying. The only thing I'm comparing is that there was more than one method to get them healed, like there's more than one method to get people to FE.
I just find it interesting, Neil. Sorry, Righteous.
I'm not.
No, you go on.
You know what? I don't. It's not. I don't care. If they come, they come.
I was just gonna say that I find it interesting, Niels, that you were saying that if you hadn't have gone through your brother, God would have made you find your way here. But you didn't consider for a minute that God made you find your way here through your brother.
Of course I did. Where'd you hear that in that?
No, so sorry. It just felt like you were suggesting that going through your brother was just one way that you did it, and if that didn't happen, God would have made you find it some other way. But I was just suggesting that maybe that's the way that he got you here.
Yeah, maybe the Lord thought, hey, you know what? The only thing that will work on Neil
is his brother.
That's not a maybe. That's a fact. That's how it happens. So
well, let me say this.
That's a fact.
Right. So the Lord thought, or you could say the Lord looked at it like this. Okay, to get Neil on board with this, I'm going to have to use his brother and the Feast of Nonsense. Could that be a possibility?
Hold on a second. I got to take this call, so I got to step out of the conversation.
Well, realistically, I think he already answered it. He said, yeah, of course, because that's how it was, and it's a fact.
I think he has to
So-
say yes. I'm interested, though, to know, and I'll ask him when he gets back, where his brother is in all this. Has his brother moved? Is his brother still in the Feast of Nonsense, or is his brother sort of where we are?
Maybe we'll never find out. Because with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!